Welcome back to another Literalist reaction video. I'm Dave. With me, as always, my good buddy, John Doe. John, I see you, too, are drinking out of a vase.
Yeah. Well, you started it, and so I figured I'd go get a vase and fill her up, man. It took 5 beers to fill this sucker up.
I live on the road, so I don't have control over the glassware that I am dealt, and I apparently pulled what I thought was a large beer glass and realized halfway through the last video, this is actually a vase, and that's why it had a little bit of dirt in the bottom, and I had to wash it out.
That's okay. I have a little dirt in my bottom too, Dave.
Oh well, that seems like a real personal and grubby problem.
Yes, it is.
What do we got today?
So we're gonna go back to 1976, Dave. Rolling Stone wrote that this album is a, quote, startlingly excellent album.
Okay.
To continue, startling because one does not expect Blue Oyster Cult to sound like this.
I don't think I know enough about Blue Oyster Cult to know what they should sound like. I only know the one song by them where they rap. I don't even know the name of it. The one with cowbell?
Oh, Don't Fear the Reaper?
Yes.
I don't know that I've ever considered that rap, but fine. That is on this same album.
Oh, is it?
But this song is called, and it's the track that follows Don't Fear the Reaper. It's called E.T.I, Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
Okay. Sounds like it's going to be a fun one.
So let's see what you can do lyrically with this. As usual, I've heard this song. I've had this 8-track. I've had this album, vinyl, and never really paid attention to liner notes and lyrics, but really, really dig the tune.
All right. All right, so like I said, outside of the cowbell song, I don't know anything about Blue Oyster Cult, but this song's fun so far. They have a lot of fun little extraterrestrial references, like hanging out on fairy rings, for instance. Stuff like that is really fun. Obviously, the Men in Black would be the 3 men references. I don't know when the movie Men in Black came out, whether this or when the song came out.
Long after this song.
Okay, so this predates the Men in Black, the movies. But I think the Men in Black was always a ubiquitous term for, the government men who would show up and try to take away all the no, all the knowledge that happened and tell everyone to forget what they saw. And it was just it's always just been a weather balloon, right?
Right.
So I enjoy a lot of the little references here. I definitely am not catching them all. I don't know why a yellow king and a queen in red matter. I don't know all of these references. Um, Musically, it's just a fun tune. I don't think it's anything super special musically, but it is thoroughly enjoyable musically, and I enjoy that they have put those little audio references in there to like a UFO, like the little wah, 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 wah
Yeah,
sound
right, right.
of a ship taking off. Like they took the time to add those little details, which is always a lot of fun. So far, outside of references to ETs and Men in Black, I don't fully know what it's about. So here we go.
I no longer feel emotion. Where prophecy fails, the fallen notion. Told me voices, ancients of fortune.
Yeah, that was definitely fun. I don't know, like I said, exactly what it's about. Outside of obviously it's about extraterrestrials. It's about it's about a sighting. You've seen a sighting of an extraterrestrial, and that's what's going on. Um, I think that it is very interesting musically, just when they do add those little notes of the extraterrestrial sort of feeling of it. But outside of that, I think there's a part of me that wanted to read a little deeper, and it's mostly because of the line about Balthazar.
Right.
And so a part of me wants to read a little deeper, just because, I mean, Balthazar, I know it's been a while since I took ancient history, but I'm pretty sure he was sort of the one who protected the king, and it's a reference to an old Babylonian god, possibly Baal or
Huh.
Baal. I never actually knew how to pronounce that. It's like two A's. Um, but if it's a reference all the way back to that, I mean, obviously there's lots of conspiracy theories about how aliens have come in the past and all that. So I could almost see it being something along the lines of like way back then. Um, but I think, and this is probably a wild conspiracy theory of my own. But I almost think if the Balthazar thing is true, they're almost trying to reference like Christianity. Like the thing you're keeping secret is like maybe the birth of Christ or something, and you're not supposed to report it. We had three men in black suits, three wise men. Um, but at the same time, I don't know exactly why they would be saying don't report it, and most of the other references don't have to do with that. So I feel like that could be just a wild speculation on
Fun,
my
when you
part.
mentioned that, it rang a bell. I looked it up real quick,
Oh,
and
did you?
Baltazar is a traditional name of one of the Magi
Hmm.
to visit Jesus, one of the three wise men.
Okay. What is the reference to the King in Yellow and the King in Red then? I don't even have a guess as to what that's about.
Yeah, I don't at all with that either. I would have to read this, not too long, but this story here and see if I can find other references. But no, I don't see anything specifically about that. No.
Okay. Either way, I think it could easily just be taken at face value. Of
Hmm.
it is just about some people that saw some extraterrestrials, and the men in black are telling them not to see it, and that is pretty much what it's about. So I think that's probably what it's about. But hey, man, who knows? Hey, if you know what the references to the king in yellow and the king in, or the
Queen and
queen in
yellow,
red, king in
king
yellow, if you
red.
know what that's talking about, please let us know in the comments, because I am clueless on that one. Most of the other ones were pretty much different conspiracy theories for UFOs that I recognize, but I didn't know that one.
Hmm.
Here's a fun fact, John.
Yeah.
Many years ago, my sister and I actually went to the the UFO Museum in Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh.
And there's a story I have to tell because it's a very odd story. So we're in there and we go to this little diner there. It's called the Crash Down Diner. It's got like a half crashed UFO flying saucer on the roof. It's really neat. So we
Nice.
go in the Crash Down Diner and we're sitting there and all the TVs are playing like all these conspiracy theory, alien, whatever clips, and so we eat our food. It was perfectly fine diner food. So then someone comes in who apparently is a local, and he gets into a mild altercation with the staff. Yelling ensues, an outright fight ensues, and another guy and myself stand up from our tables to try to stop the fight. But because it was a young woman was the waitress, and she ended up she didn't need our help at all. She threw this guy, who is not a large guy, but she threw this guy right out of the diner, and then pulled the door shut and held the door and called the cops. So obviously, there's only a couple of us in there. And so we stayed until the cops showed up because, the lady had locked the door and we were all kind of trapped in there because this dude's hanging out right in front of the diner.
Right.
So we end up hanging out for long enough that the cops show up and they take statements from all of us. They take our names. They asked if I'd be willing to come back for a trial. And I was like, I live in Delaware, man. This is New Mexico. This would be quite the drive. But then the Crash Down Diner gave us a free slice of apple pie to say thank you for hanging out. And let me tell you, that was one of the best pieces of apple pie I've ever had. And to this day, that is what I think about when I eat the most American thing ever, apple pie. I think about the free apple pie my sister and I split at the Crash Down Diner in Roswell, New Mexico.
That's an interesting story, Dave. Things follow you around, don't they? Stuff happens near you.
Yeah, my sister and I actually just talked about that a couple of weeks ago, weirdly enough. My grandfather had offered me his car. The catch was I had to go to Arizona and drive it back myself. So I flew my sister and I out there. So the car actually ended up costing me a decent amount of money, but it was a very fun trip. We had a really good time. So anyway,
That's awesome.
that's my story about UFOs.
Do you think
Also,
that guy was an alien, just out of curiosity? Do you think that may have
no.
been the start of the... No.
No, I think he was a gentleman on substances that one maybe shouldn't put into their bodies. I also think that the UFO Museum in Roswell, New Mexico, if I had to describe it in one word, it would be underwhelming. It was mostly gift shop.